Welcome to the weekend must watch on Intercut, the weekly show going through all the movies, TV, and entertainment that people just can't cut away from. I'm your co-host Arturo Zurita, and joining me civilly, it's luckily we were on the same side. I think it would have been better if we were like split for Civil War, but I think we made a better episode because of it. It's
Yeah.
Zachary Shevich.
What's going on, man? Glad that we can be on the same side of a conflict. You know, when things fall apart and the nation's driven into dystopia, maybe we could end up on the same allied forces.
Twitter. Yeah. I told you though that at the end of it all, whatever Twitter talk, whatever online talk was happening, it was not going to change the numbers on this movie. I had said that I think for regular people, it was going to smack, and we saw the box office kind of come in insane numbers through and through. People were talking about this being A24's biggest movie budget wise. I love how Alex Garland said, or it could be A24's biggest flop. A lot of people went to theaters for this one. Last year, I think, was the biggest dip that we had in theaters for 2024. And A24 demolished, I want to say, with the box office numbers for this. So people aren't as divisive on Civil War as they were online. Surprised?
Not really. I mean, you know, maybe this is just anecdotal, but our videos on Civil War are doing pretty well. There's like obviously a lot of people interested in discussing and talking about this movie. Also, anecdotally, like my parents, who are not big go to the theater people, to ask me about if they can see Civil War near them, which, you know, if that's the thing, if it's gonna like transcend in that way, it's clearly like having some kind of breakthrough. And it's just such a I think it is such a provocative idea, something that we discussed on the podcast about it, that like regardless of whether or not it's engaging with all of the potentially provocative nature of an idea like this, just the fact that it exists is so eye-catching in itself that I think it's gonna, you know, I think I'm not surprised that it attracted a lot of people, and a lot more people than the typical A24 release.
Yeah, and you know, since we recorded as well, just listening to more of his interviews, I went back to rewatch Ex Machina because I know we kind of want to look back at his filmography. Ex Machina is so good. He's one of those directors where I think he's been making the same movie over and over and over, because all of the interviews for things that he said early on, he's been on that. The director isn't the forefront of everything. There are editors, screenwriters, everybody makes it important. He doesn't see it as like a dictatorship. It's a communal project to him. He was on that for press that he was doing for Ex Machina. And it's just like a lot of the critiques and things that we were responding to in our review, it's in interviews. A big thing that he said, the reason why he made the movie was he felt that a lot of people, it's not that they didn't have the news or the information. It was out there. They just chose to not like listen to it. And the man made a movie where he's got all the information out there. And I guess people choose to not listen to it or not. But I'm glad it's doing great in theaters. I was reminded on my letterbox because I had posted about it being what did I say? A24's entrance into the game of IMAX.
Into the IMAX game, yeah.
I gotta be honest, they did remind me, Beau is Afraid did have a full IMAX release. It wasn't 185. It did have the sound mixing to go for the 6 channels. Someone reminded me that the Disaster Artist also had an IMAX release.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah. So you know, A24 may be lying.
You're not sure it really needs one. I mean, obviously they're doing that IMAX re-release thing for a few of their classics like Uncut Gems, Hereditary, and stuff recently. But
have you heard
anything? What do you mean about when it's happening?
Like, no, some have happened. And did anyone go? Morbius re-released in more numbers. Yeah, I think the Hereditary one's coming up. Continue.
These are niche movies, so I don't know. I mean, I guess Hereditary did make a decent amount of money, but I'm not sure that like there's enough hubbub around it for more than film Twitter type of people. But yeah, no, I think I understand where you're coming from in just like assuming that this was kind of A24's entrance into the IMAX game, because Beau's Afraid, even though it is like this visually monumental film and it does like overwhelm you with the images, it doesn't feel like a movie that you would typically see on IMAX screens, almost the same way that like Oppenheimer doesn't feel like a typical IMAX movie, even though it was one. Whereas Civil War, a urban warfare epic, I think we can understand why that like is served by the IMAX experience.
And the disaster artist, of course, so you could see how
Right.
they failed in several ways. But
Yeah.
yeah, are you looking forward to any of the other re-releases?
I'd consider doing Uncut Gems on the big screen. I'd get, overwhelmed and traumatized all over again on
In
a
IMAX?
gigantic silver
On
screen.
12 channels. I would even say that for this one, I'm looking to rewatch it in Dolby, not even
Yeah.
IMAX.
Yeah.
So that's coming from me. I think the cameras that they use, which you talked about, these really tiny, I think it was DJI cameras where,
Yeah.
dude, I didn't know this. And I want to see if I can pull up some pictures here for our post Civil War talk that we got going on here, that certain sequences, remember when I told you Children of Men was like a big thing that kept popping up for me? There are
Mhm.
moments within the car that they said, if you see an empty seat, there was a cameraman there. They have
Mm,
no idea how they were green screened out for the final shot. That's so
mm.
cool, dude, because that's how tiny the camera was that they were able to literally put more effort in removing a person in a seat than anything else. So maybe they were dressed like these little green men. I know that
Right.
they were putting out there. Oh, I was sure step. This is what the the cameraman was dressed as. But any of the moments where they're walking around, um, I wish I had a shot of the camera or behind the scenes, but the use of that really gets a lot of the dark shadows. And to me, that's why I think Dolby's going to be better than IMAX. And you know, I'm a big
Mhm.
IMAX head, but I think Dolby may be the way to go here if you're looking for a rewatch of it or maybe going in for the first time. One, as you've seen,
Especially be
go all in. I've seen a lot of people apologize for their takes coming out of it. It just shows you that first wave was really rough.
Mhm.
You come out like just knowing you have to apologize. Sorry, guys, I like the movie. Don't apologize. Be happy. Be happy you liked it.
Absolutely. And not to go back on any of our takes, but I know there's a lot of people squabbling over the idea of whether or not this movie is political, and it's something that we engaged with heavily in our
Yes.
reviews. And I think the benefit of having a podcast and getting to talk for an hour and a half about these movies is we're making nuanced points. And if you're listening to us, you know what we mean. But obviously, like, there are political elements to the movie. Maybe to be a little bit more exact to our point, I think neither of us found there to be much partisanship in this movie. It's not a movie about like necessarily taking different sides of the political aisle in America as much as it is about the politics of covering war, right? Which is a different
Mhm.
kind of politics than the apolitical stuff we were talking about.
Yeah, because there's obviously politics in the movie. I think at one point we even stopped to be like, well, there is still a war going on. We're just mad it
Yeah.
doesn't look exactly like ours. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I do the opposite. I'm doubling down on a lot of my points. When I said that if this was from far away, people would have no problem with it, I saw some of my most favorite critics, people I really look up to go, word for word, if this was in Afghanistan, it'd be okay. It tore me apart. Like, I don't want to put them in the LME, but they're like such a prime example of like how close someone can get and then still say, it's where it's taking place that is the issue. And just the interviews that I've heard from Alex Garland and saying he always leaves room for interpretation from the audience where he's trusting them and he's hoping that what they're bringing into it is almost that it's an examination of what they themselves believe. So to have seen that throughout, I think has been very fascinating. We talked about getting comments from things that weren't even in the movie. It was just
Yeah.
something people wanted to see out of the movie. I had responded to some of the comments from our first review way back. And it is very much a like people have chosen their sides and that's it. And which is why I think that this J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick beef is the best way to explain it. Everyone's made up their minds. It does not matter what rap verses are being released. You can tell that people have already decided what side they want to be on. If we're doing that for music, we're so done with politics.
Yeah. I'm
We
on Rick
won't even be
Ross's
able to see
side for
past
what
that.
it's worth, but
Hey, let's go. That made no sense. He did not have to be that hard, dude.
it's just funny. At least we could laugh at that debate, right?
How'd he go to
I'm
his
like
mom,
at the
bro?
point
How'd
where
he
I'm
run
trying to
away to
check.
his mom?
I'm at the point where I'm checking out of most of the Civil War discourse. Like, maybe it's because we did get to see it, almost a month early, so we've been
Yeah.
knee deep in it for about a month. But now we're at the point where I feel like the talks are going in circles, and I'm ready for us to just
True.
kind of talk about some other things.
Can you imagine though, coming out of Civil War on let's say Saturday, right? And
Mm.
you walk out of your screening shaken to your core. And you open up Twitter and you see World War III trending.
Right.
That's a 40x experience right there.
Exactly.
Uh,
The full immersive experience.
Civil War out in theaters. I still recommend it. We're gonna be talking less about it, but hopefully it's still out there for y'all to view, and you give it a chance. I still think it's pretty good. Speaking of music and the little detour that we did, let's talk a little bit
Oh,
Coachella, because technically that is a
yeah,
streaming thing that's happening at the
it's
moment.
entertainment.
Yeah, you let me know that they're not doing the second weekend, even though they do 2 weekends live, but
Yeah,
they did perform all their first.
I think they only live streamed that first weekend, if I remember correctly. Which,
Okay.
I'd love to get the second live stream. There's plenty of acts that I'd be checking out again, or acts that conflicted that I'd use the opportunity to catch up with. But I mean, look, we're, I felt like a very old man this weekend, just being like, back in my day, I would drive 10 hours to get to the closest music festival, and we paid all
Boo!
this. Now you can just sit on your couch and catch
And it looks
Tyler
better?
and what?
And it looks better?
Yeah, and you
You're
get a
not
better
there
seat,
sweating the entire day. What
paying
Tyler
$10
say?
for a water.
They had him out at 11:40 at night. What, to me that was 1 o'clock. You're an hour ahead.
Yeah, 2 a.m. It was very fun staying up for that one, but it looked like they had
I
some of the replays too. Because I was pretty
Yeah,
sleepy.
that yeah, because sometimes they disappear. But I've seen Lollapalooza do some of the streams. They do theirs on Hulu. Hey, Coachella's doing it incredibly well. I think the fact that they've kept it on YouTube, it's free. I was able to send links to like everybody around me who I knew had someone who they'd
Mhm.
want to see live. The Peso Pluma show was incredible. I thought he killed it, especially that ending outro that he had where he was able to shout out a bunch of people. Lil Uzi, people were complaining he wasn't singing. I mean, at that point, that man was not going in for any voice licks. He was going in just for the moves. He was voguing
Yeah.
up there. He had a
Yep.
whole thing going on. Any favorites that you had? Hopefully they're up
I
here.
did like that little Uzi set. Like I thought they did such a great job of like just making it feel big and like a big party. Just the atmosphere of it was really electric. So
Dressed
I
up like
really
a
enjoyed
pirate.
little Uzi's set. I enjoyed the Vampire Weekend set. I saw them.
Mm,
They also live streamed their live stream during or their concert during the eclipse. So I got a chance to see them live
really?
stream twice in the last 2 weeks now.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah,
I'm about
I
to
mean,
put those
I
both.
was telling you off stream that I'm a big fan of their new album, so it's always a pleasure
Yeah.
to see them. They brought out Paris Hilton to do cornhole at the end, which they're a very Vampire Weekend thing to do.
A lot of good guests. You saw the Kesha
Oh,
one coming out
yeah, a
to
lot of that was Renee
revamp those
Rapp who
lyrics.
brought
Yeah,
Kesha out,
Renee
right?
Rapp brought out Kesha. Yes, thank you. Um,
Yeah,
did it get
another one of the
updated on
pleasures
stream?
of Coachella are all the amazing guests that drop by. Billie Eilish stopping by during Lana Del Rey's
That was
set, I
pretty
thought
rough.
was pretty epic. My top two sets, I'm pretty sure we're going to share one of them. The Tyler the Creator set was just
Incredible.
incredible. Like not just because I think it's cool to see the way that he's grown as a performer and amassed this catalog of varied songs, some that are harder, some that are more melodic, and it's also that he's such a showman and he has such a full vision. The whole national parks theme of the set and the ways that got disrupted, the pyrotechnics, the wire work. It's just such a show, right? He's not just giving you a concert; he's giving you a show. But also the guests with Tyler the Creator were incredible.
I see they're bringing it up in the chat when he had brought up the Gerard Carmichael bit.
Yeah,
I th- he told him, "You want the cameras, okay?" But I love how honest he was. He brought out Childish Gambino and then said, "I used to hate him." Brought up ASAP. He said, "I used to hate him." Just the honesty in a week where we got back-to-back bombs dropped on some, legendary
big
people who we've
entertainers.
been
Yeah.
following for a while. This would be the new generation. It's fascinating to think of, what is Kanye, Jay-Z, whoever else you want to do in the mix from the early 2000s. Those would have been considered the big three. You got this new
Mhm.
big three from the 2010s up to the 2020s that are now going at each other. This is the next generation. I'm looking at Tyler the Creator, who's created his clothing line, who's done multimedia. ASAP Rocky, same way. Childish Gambino for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
having his own series, even on Prime, going all the way up to Lion King.
Yeah, and
I'm
he
looking
just
at these
announced
people
new
as like the next
projects
up.
to he just announced a new project
New
last night
music,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it, but I agree with you. Just I thought the intro was great, but the techniques that he did at the end, because it's like you said, he's camping, but also he's like being pulled out.
Yeah,
It's
there's the
like an
wire
alien
work there.
abduction that's happening. Some
Yeah.
really cool stuff. I thought his was fantastic. Ken Carson would have been another one who had a lot of energy going in. One
Yeah.
rapper I
I
was
don't
a little
know
disappointed with.
who's that?
Let me name you a sad one if you're going to give me a good one. But I was a little
Okay, you
disappointed
go
with
first.
a fellow artist that we know very well.
Yeah.
You tuned in
Kevin Abstract. I did tune in for Kevin Abstract. You know,
because he tuned out.
Conan went viral this week, and we're probably going to talk about that. But one of the many things he said that I thought resonated was he hates when a guest comes on a show and says, "This isn't going well," right? Because that is a cue to the audience that things aren't going well. It makes the audience think that they are not getting, the full night out that they were promised, the best night of entertainment that they could have hoped for. This is something that we've talked about in the context of award show hosts like Joe Coy, who rather than just continue forward with their jokes will circle back and blame the writers or blame the audiences.
Yeah.
It just sort of like makes you and your show look worse. And
Yes.
the amount of times that Kevin stopped to restart a song or just would skip songs and stuff like that, yelling at that one girl who brought up Brockhampton saying that Ginger was forever ago, and then proceeding to play songs from an album he put out before Ginger. I don't know, man. A little bit. He seems not super happy up there.
Lost in the sauce kind of bit. I mean, it's what
Yeah.
we said when you're breaking down that scenario of Brockhampton having fallen apart. I told you the worst thing that man did was meet Drake on the Euphoria set. I don't know what he told him, but he's trying to do the solo thing to make it all about him, and I find it really weird. Shouts out to Quedeca. I don't know if you have been
Yeah.
following Quedeca early YouTube days to now being on the Coachella stage. I thought that was pretty cool for him. Some of the other people who he brought out, but yeah, it felt very diva-like, and that's very disappointing because a lot of people know we're pretty decent Brockhampton fans. But
Yeah.
hey, and
Hey,
you,
well, we're
Matt
talking.
Champion, pretty good. I will say
Yeah.
that.
Pretty solid.
I liked it.
I wanted to check out the new Don McLennan too. I didn't get around to that note, but there's a couple songs on that Matt Champion I like. Also, Joba put out a song that's pretty good.
Cool.
But if we're talking about divas at Coachella, do you want to talk
Oh.
about Damon Albarn and the whole situation with Blur?
I don't even tell me. I don't follow Blur like that. Hit me.
Yeah, neither does anybody who attended Coachella because they're all younger than us. Damon Albarn and the gang from Blur were there performing at Coachella. Apparently, they're going to be back next weekend. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
The crowds were just not very good. And like, look, I think if you're going to show up to Blur, you should probably sing along when he gives you the cue to sing along. But at the same time, like, I feel too old to go to Coachella. And even I wasn't really paying attention to music in Blur's heyday. Like the Zoomers that are occupying Coachella have absolutely no idea what song 2 is, right? And so he's up there sort of throwing a temper tantrum because people aren't singing along, people aren't participating that much. But I don't know, maybe it's just the fault of the bookers for putting Damon Albarn on a night where people were there to see Tyler, the Creator. It just
That's what I'm saying. So what night is this?
Saturday they were performing, I believe.
So they do some really funny stuff, right? I went to the Lollapalooza where they had Playboy Cardi before Miley Cyrus, and it was the funniest thing to see the Miley fans get Playboy Cardied. They did that this time around for the ATEEZ fans, big K-pop group, and they had Ken Carson, Skepta, like they had some of the craziest things going on. This is another case of that. I mean, I guess maybe Sublime to Blur to No Doubt.
Yeah, it's all those kind of like 90s rock staples, but at the same time, I just feel like I don't know, like Blur, I don't know if they have that resonance in this market.
Especially for Flower Boy fans that were waiting there for Tyler and are just having to wait through Blur. Wait, so what did he do? Just leave?
No, he was just sort of complaining, and he said, "This is the last time you're seeing us sing along," something like that. He was
It seems like they don't care. Why would you tell somebody?
Right?
You'll
never see us again. Sing along.
Oh no.
Yeah,
it's
I don't
cool
know. It's another one of those things where it's like you're there. Don't throw a tantrum on stage. Like I get that the crowds weren't bad. I get that they weren't like didn't really give you much participation. But what you can't force it, right?
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of forcing, you had mentioned a good one with Billie Eilish, but what'd you think about bringing Olivia Rodrigo out after taking all of the songs? I thought it
I
looked
thought it was
cool.
cute. Yeah,
It was
it's a
cute.
fun match.
But that's why I liked Tyler the Creator a lot more because he could say, "Yeah, we had beef, but we're cool." This is like I know y'all had back and forth. Olivia Rodrigo's like taking every song, and then at the end, what a privilege to be able to then go party, dance on Coachella stages with the people who influenced you the most. Shout outs
Yeah.
to her. Um, one of the ones that I did not get to, there was some yesterday that I wanted to catch, but I didn't. Um, I think Tyler was the last one that I stayed up really late for. Kevin Carl did pretty good. We got to see a little bit of them at South by.
Mm.
To me, they're like Latino Mumford and Sons a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So they got a
Did you
good
know
sound. There's a lot of
Deftones
people
were
that were
Mexican? I didn't know Deftones were Mexican this
no,
weekend.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's like the Ramones. I know one of them's Hispanic or a couple of them Hispanic in the Ramones, and I'm like, damn, okay. Yeah, anybody else?
Yeah, so my two favorite sets, I mentioned Tyler was one of them. The other favorite set I had was Chapel Roan. I don't know if you caught any of her set. I was
No.
blown away. I'm vaguely familiar with Chapel Roan. I had heard a couple songs, seen the NPR Tiny Desk and some stuff like that. But just her command over the stage and her readiness for that platform, the way that the audience was not only engaged but having the time of their lives. I thought, this is sort of like the birth of a pop superstar kind of moment. I feel like it's one of those
Oh,
concerts where like everybody who was there is going to talk about having been there for
remember
that
that?
show.
Yeah, that's clean.
Yeah.
That's what you
Eh,
want.
Yeah, it was one of those kind of like magical music festival moments. And it blew me away so much that I would not be surprised to see her as a headliner there in the next 5 years. Like I think what's interesting about Chapel Roan, she's got this kind of like drag queen slash 80s glam rock look to her, and that she's got a lot of makeup and the big hair and everything like that. But it's this old school pop showmanship thing that I don't know if we've seen an act really go for in this space since like Lady Gaga. And I'm not saying that she is Lady Gaga or something. In fact, musically, she's somewhere between more like Taylor Swift and Lord, maybe a little closer to Lord. But
Okay.
I don't know, man. I just was like, I think she's such a presence on stage that she's gonna be a big deal not too long from now.
She got like a FK Twigs vibe. I'll have
Yeah,
to
very
listen then.
artsy.
Okay. Definitely. Okay. That's a good one. Hopefully this one's up. My last two to recommend would have been Young Miko's set. I thought was pretty solid, and Skepta.
Yeah.
I thought was pretty good. He did a pretty decent set in
Yeah,
the
Skepta's fun.
Samara one. Skepta's
That's not me.
decent.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are some of our picks for
Yeah,
Coachella.
did you catch the Sublime set at all? I just thought that it was interesting. I don't know if you heard the whole story with it because Sublime's lead singer died of an overdose
Yeah,
back, I believe, in the 90s. And for a while, Sublime was performing with a singer named Rome, and they rebranded their band to be Sublime with
Sublime with
Rome.
Rome.
They're just Sublime here, and that's because they're actually now performing with the son of their former lead singer. He's,
That's who
fully
that guy was,
grown.
the shirtless dude.
Yeah, and he sounds exactly like his father. It's kind of eerie and kind of amazing.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to run that one back.
Yeah,
Oh, a
definitely.
lot of good stuff from Coachella. I appreciate the stuff that they have going on. I have one critique, and I'm trying to like maybe even make a video on it. Dude, I feel a lot of film festivals have taken what used to be general admission and have cut out like a little path right in front of the stage, so it's VIP. And now a
Mhm.
lot of the footage for the early acts looks terrible because it looks like they just have a complete empty space.
Mm.
Lollapalooza did that. We always used to have a spot on the left side. They took it. I saw Coachella take it. I don't know who stole the idea from who, but y'all need to drop that. That is,
Yeah.
it's terrible. It makes it look horrendous. But one of these years we'll go. We'll hit up a
Yeah.
Coachella, Intercut at Coachella, and who knows, maybe even come across Anne Hathaway and a pop star group like in The Idea of You. I'm
Yeah.
gonna blink on the
May
name.
you try to fall in love with Nick Scalzi at Coachella?
You know,
If it
if things
happens, it
fall into
happens.
place, things fall into place.
Yeah.
They already started rolling out singles. I don't know if I had sent it to you guys, but they've got the first one is already out.
From The
Um,
Idea of You.
so they're prepping for like a big rollout. I think it's gonna be pretty interesting because I think this comes out
Cool.
May 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. So um smart to roll it out on the week of Coachella.
Yeah,
Speaking
definitely.
of, I'm wearing the shirt. I don't know if you've been
I
able
can't
to
see it. It's
rewatch
blocked by
this
the
one. Oh, it is Black Weather. But I got the greatest hit shirt.
Ooh,
It is
greatest hit shirt from South by.
we went to South by. We got this. I also had kind of like the patch that went with it. I forget which over here.
Nice.
Somewhere here I had the patch. There you go. It's the South by patch, but it's up on the video for what we had it. Greatest Hits is the movie that premiered at South by Southwest. It is playing on Hulu now. Had a little bit of a theatrical release. It follows a young woman who, after losing her boyfriend, every time she hears like a #1 hit radio single, it transports her back to the first time.
Yeah.
The pivotal.
The first time she heard it with her
with him.
boyfriend. Yeah.
She may be trying to solve, time travel shenanigans in order to still keep him, or maybe is trying to figure out a timeline where she moves forward. We both thought it was pretty cute. I think it's the perfect watch now that it's out on Hulu, so just wanted to give it another recommendation there.
Yeah, just a kind of nice, cozy, tragically romantic movie for people who are fans of things like A Walk to Remember or The Notebook. I think you'd have a good time, a pretty good time with this one. It's not quite on that level of like modern romantic classics, but there's really, really killer ideas in there and some good performance.
Yeah. Another one, I missed some of the other theatrical releases, but there was a new comedy special by Neal Brennan called Crazy Good. How you feel about Neal Brennan?
I'm pretty hit or miss with him. I to be honest, I
like him as a writer.
skip him. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously contributed to a lot of like iconic stuff, but I find the stand-up to be a little self-congratulatory.
A little?
Maybe a lot self-congratulatory.
Yeah, I feel you. He's got that balance where he's trying to like really lean into the prop comedy of it, knowing good and damn well that a lot of the people around him would never like that stuff. And that's a big push when it comes to the comedy scene, but he does interesting ideas. It's just like, damn, I wish you gave this to somebody else. It's like when you hear a reference track and you're like, yeah, you are the reference track artist. Please give this to the vocals that can deliver it properly.
He's got
fine.
this
There's a
thing
lot of
going on.
decent jokes in there.
He's got this thing going on in the latest special where visually he'll deliver a lot of punchlines as if he's on a phone screen. They'll like cut to a more vertical angle and then black out the sides of the screen. And it's one of those things like you're talking about where it's like, all right, like I see the idea. I don't really feel like you thought the execution of this through very well, but
yeah,
I get what you're going for.
What do they see there in the theater? There's no
Right.
screens.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like an SNL bit where no one can say anything and you're seeing like Caitlin Clark come into the frame.
Exactly. There's this weird disconnect.
It's a little bit more performative, and I think that's a big reason why a lot of people have pushback on prop comedy. But again, I guess the final product is his end goal. And for that, I'd say go watch the Dimitri Martin sketch that I'd recommended last week because I think that was a little bit better. I know there was a couple of extras there. I don't know if anything else stood out to you from movies or things you want to run back, give a quick shout out to before we head into our TV series.
Not particularly. I don't know how much time we had spent on Arcadian in our South by Southwest coverage, but
let me know because it was in theaters. You told me to wait.
Yeah. I think you could wait. I mean, I like the creature design. There's not a whole lot else that I'd recommend about that movie, to be honest.
Yeah, it's in theaters, but I believe should be coming out in streaming. That's when I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, and they're overselling Nick Cage's involvement in it too.
The big one though would have been, as we're talking about series, Fallout. I kind of fell in love with the show, bro. We finished it in like 2 days. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. You not feeling it?
No, I'm only 2 episodes in. I'm enjoying it so far. I just haven't done the big binge like you did. And I like I'm really intrigued by the world. I think they did a really good job also in a lot of times I find with these like fantasy or sci-fi big premium shows that have like ensemble casts and stuff. They have a lot of those shows struggle with what your entry point is, right? Like they're trying to introduce you to like 10 characters in the first 30 minutes or something like that. And your
5 video games worth.
Right. And your brain struggles to keep up with it. And here, I think they did a really good job in sort of identifying a couple key figures and sketching them out in a way where you kind of get their whole deal, whether that's the like Ella Purcell played vault dweller who thinks she's going to get married off and is suddenly launched into this adventure, whether
Super
that's,
innocent.
This guy who Maximus or whatever it is, who's in that like
Uh-huh.
suit, and he's like
Right there.
he's
Yeah.
a he's a grunt, but he sees this opportunity for himself. Or
Good
you get
soldier. Yeah.
Walton Goggins's Ghoul
Yes,
character,
sir.
who is
The
the
ghoul.
Wild West gunslinger without a nose.
Bro, zombie justified. Come on,
Yeah.
that's all I needed. I was a little concerned with how they were going to adapt it. If it was going to be like you were saying, a little too fantastical. But we've had
Hmm.
shows really knock it out of the park in this past decade, from Game of Thrones to even Westworld, who are the creators of the series with Jonathan Nolan and his partner wife Lisa Joy.
At least Joy. Yeah.
Dude, I know they never got to finish Westworld. This, I hope they get to finish, because it looks like they're having a lot of fun. Westworld, I felt
Yeah.
almost it got trapped in its seriousness. It got trapped in this idea that it always had to be smarter than the audience. I remember in
And the
season 1,
Redditors.
that really big finale, it was kind of ruined because of the fact that, I want to say it's what's it called? Watchmen, the miniseries that we both really liked.
Yeah.
Who's the creator on that from Lost?
Lindelof. Yeah. Damon
He had
Lindelof.
said, yes, we live in this world where if one person finds it, everybody's found it. So we're all
Right.
kind of attaching each other together on the internet, all of our clues, that you can't really have a series that's being released in this way. You have to be like way smarter than, you said, the Redditors and the people online. So the fact that they don't have to deal with that because it all came out in one. I've been seeing split things. I've been seeing some directors I really like be really mad at this idea because they want the rollout of a weekly basis, but Yellowstone season 2 had that and no one gave it to them. Squid Game had the opposite and it blew up. I think there's a push and pull. People do want to have that water cooler talk, but sometimes you're also leaving them out to die. Sometimes you do need them all the episodes out at the same time. And I want to say that this time it helped them because no one can spoil it for you, because it really is left there for you to solve yourself. No one's like trying to make a guess. There's only a recap you can do now with all 8 episodes being out. And I thought it works. It leaves you with a lot of
Yeah.
cliffhangers, but I'm excited for season 2.
Nice. I wonder if a show like this, where I think there was a lot of people who had genuine skepticism going in, not because of like the nature of the show or what it looked like or whatever, but just like we get adaptations of big IP into
Yeah.
series all the time. And I feel like the success rate for that is probably a little less than 50%, maybe even a lot less than 50%. So like there's just going to be genuine skepticism around stuff like this. And
Yeah.
since it's come out, it seems to have gotten pretty solid response. I don't want to say universally positive, but like close to universally positive response to the Fallout show. I wonder if shows like that, where people aren't sure, but then they can just dive right in. A show like The Bear, which basically no one knew about in season 1, and then it was just all there for people to just
Yeah.
consume. Those are benefited by sometimes having that binge style release. And then once you maybe have the attention and the acclaim, and you're like a House of the Dragon where you're going to get people to tune in every week, then maybe doing the slower release benefits you more.
I agree with you completely. Supply and demand type stuff.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it for the ones until you build it up. I agree. Even with The Bear, remember we were looking back thinking the first one was a rollout, but that's actually how it just rolled out, even with it being a binge model. So it just depends on how people end up talking about it, word of mouth style. But I think streaming is completely different because we don't have the rerun factor of, oh, we can only catch it one more time. It's just always there.
Yeah.
I like the violence in this. I was not expecting the goofiness and then just brutality of it to really put you
Yeah.
into this world. I like the ethics of it, the themes that they're bringing up about, the conspiracies with the vaults and how, how they even view the world in terms of when you're restarting it, what would be the best possible outcome? Or are we this experiment like mice where no matter what creation, what society, what model we choose, there's always going to be, war. There's always going to be a
Yeah.
fallout.
I don't know how much.
I downloaded the games.
Oh, there you go.
Like,
I mean, look, that
into
says a
it.
lot, right?
Yeah.
I've heard New Vegas is the best one for what it's worth.
Tell me why I download 4. And I Google to see, please Google, tell me I got the right one. And they said, no, unanimously, it's New Vegas that is the best one. So
yeah,
turns out you can play New Vegas and you can play Fallout 3 for free on Amazon Prime.
Really?
I'm gonna play it to you right now. I'm not even, I'm not even sponsored by these people, but tell me your point while I pull this up because I was trying to get them off the PlayStation. You can't.
I was going to ask you just one thing that I noticed, at least in the first couple of episodes, that's kind of fun. Maybe they continue to do this, and that like you have this character. I forget Ella Purcell's character's name, but the Vault Dweller, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
she's got this sort of idealistic vision for how the future can be rebuilt and how America can be salvaged. And she's sort of uh, finds herself confronted with a world that is not patient and does not have the willingness to cooperate. Everybody's a lot more in it for themselves, and I think that's a really fun sort of push and pull that they're working on, at least in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, she's like a missionary almost. Like
Right.
everything to her is so optimistic. She has no idea. Her name's Lucy, by the way. But
There we go.
yeah, right here, dude. Look at this. You can play Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 off your phone.
Huh.
Started playing it off the computer, a lot better off the computer. Yeah. You get the whole game for free if you've got a Prime account through whatever this thing is, Luna.
Now I'm curious, is it playing off of Prime the way that Netflix has games on Netflix, or do they give you a download and you're running it on your computer?
You're streaming it.
Interesting.
It's the whole game. You want to play it? I can play right now.
Let's shift. Let's just start a gaming podcast. Maybe we should start a gaming podcast. By the way, it's Ella Purnell. I keep getting that wrong. Thanks for the correction in the live stream.
Oh, what do we call her?
I called her Purcell. I don't think you said anything.
Oh, I called her Purell. Look at this. You could literally play this game. I'm not even playing with you. Right there. I'm showing it to you in real time. I think we can't show trailer. I can't show the Fallout trailer, but I can show the whole Fallout 3 game, right? That's YouTube rules.
Right.
That is a Let's Play.
That's how YouTube works.
You just jump right into it. And the best part, I was playing on my phone. It saves. Booted up on my computer. I just press continue.
That cloud save.
Come on.
Yeah.
I think you can connect your... There.
I think I'm going to try New Vegas then. It messed with your microphone, I think. You're a lot quieter. Now we're hearing more of the game and less of you, just for what it's worth.
Here, I'll exit this.
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear you again.
Oh, no. I think I'm going to have to exit. There we go. I meant to be a movie reviewer, not a gamer, but that way you have it. You have it at your disposal. I'd say play 3 New Vegas, because that's the supposedly best one. And I'm glad that you get it for free. So you have those two, and I think 76. You get 3 in Vegas until October, but you only get Fallout 76 until like the end of May.
Interesting. Worth noting. One more thing that I noticed that feels like they're trying to emulate the video games is there's a lot of slow-mo in the show, particularly a lot of the violence is done in slow-mo, and I think that's a thing in the games where kill shots you sort of see the slow motion of it happening. Did that work for you? Did they lessen it as the show went along? Because I don't know if I loved how much of it I saw in the first 2 episodes.
It didn't bother me towards the second half, only because it does bother me so much more in the game. Because it's very slow in the game when you're beating up those cockroaches. I think that is disgusting. So I could definitely make it go faster. So seeing it in the show and it not being cockroaches, I was like, oh, okay. It's like what they do in the game. It's faster. And towards the latter half, I think a lot of the times when they do it, it's for really nasty kills, beheadings, explosions. So I think that they make it interesting. If they're slowing it down, it's to really show you how much detail they put into some of these shots. So again, it's like Westworld, but they're having some fun with it. Not that Westworld wasn't fun, but it was very deep and philosophical. This has all that, but in a very sock and bop 'em type of way. The characters are they juxtapose each other well, and I don't know. I think it's a really interesting series. And you got a little bit into the flashbacks too. They're also not just telling it to you in the present future; it's also happening in the present past.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah,
I'm all into that. So
there's ambition to it. It's really got a pretty incredible scope. So yeah, I'm looking forward to spending some more time in Philly, both
once you
our Philly and their Philly.
Once you finish it, I'm curious your thoughts on it. We'll run it back because we can do a second evaluation, kind of like what I'm doing here. For Sugar.
Well, how deep do you want to get into it? Because I think only 3 episodes are available publicly, and this show takes a turn in episode 6.
You knew about this?
I didn't know the specifics. I just knew that something was coming. And like watching the show, how could you not? Like there is this
How
air of mystery and this sort of like we're waiting to tell you something, but we're not going to tell you until later.
Nah, bro. I came in for LA Noir. Alina
That's the
decides
issue,
to Hail
right?
Mary a random idea in the second episode. I laugh it off because why would it ever be that, Zach?
Yeah, doesn't make much sense
Yeah.
for
What
a
episode is it? 6?
hard-boiled detective show. A detective,
Is
yeah,
it
episode
6?
6 out of 8.
I don't even know how to feel about it,
I kind of
but
like
I can't talk about it until it
I think we
happens.
got to come back in 3 weeks and just outright spoil this because it is such a choice and I doubt that many people are out there watching it right now. But
For the one person
man,
who took my recommendation to go watch Sugar, I am talking to you. Halt.
well look, like
Brace for impact, I should say.
there's so much about the show that merits recommendation, right? Because it's
Yeah.
got this really cool tone. And I think Fernando Meirelles directs it with so much style. And Colin Farrell is
Oozy.
so good,
Yeah.
but it it just I think it bites off way more than it can chew. And by the end, it's sort of like what is even the tension? What stories are we even trying to resolve anymore? What is happening on this show?
That's what it was, wasn't it? Because the turn it takes gives you whiplash. But then it's
Yeah.
like, what is this fight scene? I don't like this fight scene. Why are you now editing movies into the timeline that I used to love for the first 5 episodes and now it's annoying me? Why are we doing this? And then it just does. I can't even talk about the philosophical nature of what they come down to with his character, but we'll have to discuss this later. I still really want to recommend the first 5.5 episodes.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know because it's so weird. Like it really is like so I'm not even like against the idea of it in general. It just is
Me neither.
so poorly executed. And it really feels like they mushed together two things that don't belong. They made a ham and jelly sandwich here. And
Right?
I just like I like those things, but I just don't see what what the connection is here.
It's so insane, it should make it more entertaining, but that's when it
Right.
starts getting more boring.
Yeah.
Hey, Sugar out on Apple TV Plus. Catch it until they change that 6th episode turn. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that one, but
Well,
I
so
that was still
one
very
more
good.
thing that's interesting about it. Last week we talked about some of the people behind it, and that Mark Prosevich, or I might be messing up his first name, was the writer for the pilot and for the first couple of episodes. And if you look on
Okay.
Wikipedia, something that's interesting is that about halfway through, Sam Catlin, that guy who worked on Breaking Bad that I mentioned, takes over. And I wonder if there was a little bit of like some behind the scenes, like maybe this direction isn't going the way we want it. Let's bring in somebody else. But it takes a
What book
shift.
did they need to what book did they need to keep in line with?
I don't know. What just a
Crazy show.
misfire in general.
Very weird stuff. But let's get into our pilot previews. A bunch of the series that have started off and have about a pilot, or maybe
Yeah,
have the whole series, but we've got a little bit of the beginning, giving you our initial thoughts. Did you get to catch The Sympathizer?
I did. Yeah, the new Chan-wook Park show on HBO. Thought it was really, really fascinating. In fact, like I'd go as far as to say I think this is the best pilot that I've seen in quite some time.
Oh,
It just first of all, Chan-wook Park is directing the hell out of this show. There are just incredible sequences and shots in this thing. There's a moment where a rotary phone uh fades into the spinning wheel of a car that's just like it's one of those like in one of those film Twitter transitions that's going to go viral for sure. But he also has this incredible like rack focus during an interrogation scene where you go from the woman who's being interrogated to the shadow of her on the wall behind her. It looks incredible. The whole
but
final
did it have
sequence where they're
did it have a smile
yes, yeah.
on the window that you could time to
Oh
her
no,
mouth?
no, no, not that one. I mean, we're not talking about
Okay.
Todd Phillips level here.
Oh, okay. My bad. Continue.
That I mean that whole final sequence in that first episode of them trying to board the plane is some of the most intense filmmaking that I've seen recently, and seriously got to be one of the most intense things I've ever seen on TV. I was pretty blown away by this. It's a really interesting show. It's follows a guy who is working with the United States in the towards the end of the Vietnam War, but
Mhm.
secretly sort of funneling messages to the Vietnamese communist side. So he's, you know, the sympathizer, and just the way that he's caught between these two worlds and pulled on either direction. It's just a really fascinating show. Some really interesting performances there. Obviously, you got Robert Downey Jr. Doing the acting in this show. But I was really, really
Robert Downey Jr.
taken
looked
by.
crazy there, bro. That's insane. Yeah.
I was really taken by. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but how Kwande, who is the lead of the show, really, really incredible.
They gave him like colored context, no?
I don't know, maybe.
He's got like this eerie look in the first couple of episodes. I was like, you look like you're undercover, bro. But yeah, this is rolling out weekly. I think they only released the first episode, correct?
Yes, yes.
And it should probably be going up until May, maybe even June, but that's out on HBO as an original miniseries. Get your thumbs up.
Oh yeah, definitely thumbs up. That's probably the show I'm most eager to keep going back to right now.
Nice. One that I'm not eager to go back to, but that's because of how effective it was. It was a show on Netflix that ended up making the top 10 for them. It's called Baby Reindeer. Joker had a trailer that came out, and you have another kind of pathetic comedian here who isn't really making it. He's more of a bartender until one day this lady comes over and she's well off. She's got her own place. She's almost even offering, if I only had someone who could put up my curtains, then I'd have everything, that I needed, and you'd have a place to stay. She's just mad flirting to the point that she becomes a regular. All the regulars know her as a regular. All the regulars believe that maybe they should be a thing, her and the bartender. And in order to make a joke that may ease the guys off, she takes it the wrong way and becomes the ultimate stalker. The show's already shot so interestingly through his point of view whenever he's feeling this anxiety on stage or he's feeling it at the bar. But the fact that he's being like haunted down by her electronically through email, through social media, like she's showing up to his shows as the heckler. I think it's able to direct it in such a very a fascinating way to put you into his mindset of how like anxiety ridden it is to be followed. And just knowing that it doesn't matter what he says, she's already going to take it a certain way. The first episode and change that I saw of it, I thought was perfectly executed, but I don't want to watch any more of it. Like, I don't see how this is going to end any other way, which is exactly why it's already a mini series. But if you saw the trailer to it, I think they're also pitching this as a true story, which is probably why it did some numbers. Think of it like a one of those Netflix documentaries that they release, dramatized. So you have it right there. Baby Reindeer.
Nice.
Not too bad, just a little too creepy, in my opinion.
Is there the description of it is making sound like what's the Kathy Bates one, the classic?
Dude, yeah, like it feels like it's heading there, which is why you're just getting slow burned into that. So imagine like before he ends up in the for misery, before he ends up in the bed.
Misery, yes.
It's like an hour of just baiting for 3 episodes just to end up, oh yeah, where else were we gonna end up? I'm gonna keep watching it though, because again, it's gotten really good reviews and I don't have bad things to say about it other than it being really creepy.
Nice.
But Netflix also was playing it on all angles because they had that new reboot to Good Times. I'm sure you know the original Good Times.
Classic.
Well, the new Good Times having a bad time. I don't know if you heard a lot of the pushback that they had for this. It comes from Stephen Curry as a producer, Norman Lear, because obviously he did the original, rest in peace. But Seth MacFarlane, I think that's where people are taking the jokes a certain way, because there is a level of this that is Boondocks. And then there's a level of this that is Boondocks. Like, it is just such a wannabe type of scraping at the lowest barrel of it for some jokes. But it's not that there isn't some that hit. It's just like it takes a lot. There's a lot of misses, but there are some misses that are just egregious. And I think that's sometimes the issue with a lot of Seth MacFarlane for people, especially when it's farther away from Seth MacFarlane's MO.
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes in there where, like, I don't know if you ever get this feeling where you hear a bad joke and you like it like strains your back almost. It's a little bit like
Mhm.
oof, like you sink further into your seat. You want to slouch down because it just doesn't hit and it feels bad to listen to. Like I I don't know what it is about the show that just makes me feel like racist for even watching it, but like the types of jokes that it's trying to go for, yeah, sure, a couple of them hit, but a lot of them just sort of feel like mean spirited. I was thinking about like another show that deals with, characters that are not from economically advantageous situations. And it was thought about a show that I liked a lot in its early days was Everybody Hates Chris, which I think
Yeah.
also tries to deal with this idea of like a family that's, not got not in the best financial situation and they sort of are struggling, but they overcome despite that. And it's just, I think that one did such a better job of making the jokes about the nature of their dynamic and the nature of their character than it did about the nature of their situation and laughing at the
Gotcha.
situation itself. And I think to me
Yeah.
that's one of the things that makes this show like a bit uncomfortable for me to watch.
It's also just based off of a very famous series that they could have
Yeah.
just not done, and maybe people would have liked it more, you know? Even with,
Mhm.
Good Times, the original Good Times is the best example of this done right. If you're doing something like Boondocks, I think Boondocks even takes a lot of characters, like when they did the Medea character, the Tyler Perry character, it was like
Mhm.
another creation of it. Here, it is Lil Baby, Lil or the baby and baby coming up to a baby just because they're like on each other's turf. It's like way too close to it also that makes it feel weird. Like they actually go to Chief Keef for advice. It takes place in Chicago. They're doing a lot
Yeah.
of Chicago centric jokes that again are bottom of the barrel stuff.
Yeah.
I will take a Lori Lightfoot joke, but damn, it's at least got to be funny and it's got to be on time. That woman's gone.
Right.
The woman's
Right.
gone. Like she's not even here anymore. So yeah, it's one of those. It's a little late, just like the premises, late on the rent. I realized how much Bob Burgers actually takes from the original Good Times because it's always about getting the rent, getting the check,
Yep.
getting whatever it is by 6 p.m. And that's like one of my favorite parts of Bob's Burger. That no matter what
Mhm.
episode you're on, they're always just fighting to pay the rent. So if you wanted a better version of Good Times, why the heck is it Bob's Burgers? Go watch
Right.
that one instead. If you want to test it out, Good Times is a lot like Chicago Party Ant. So someone in the Netflix animation department hates Chicago that they keep making these stereotypical stuff. But that's our fourth one on there. Did you even catch Franklin?
I just watched the first one right before we started streaming.
Wow, I've seen half the trailer. Do you have anything to say about Franklin?
Leaving me out to dry here. I don't know, man. I am not sure yet why this thing exists, other than I feel like historical dramas tend to do well for prestige streaming services.
You did well with
Um,
Liberace, so
yeah, right. Um, it seems fine. You get
that's Noah
in the
Jupe,
first
dude.
episode. Yeah, no, little Noah Jupe, all grown up, or mostly grown up, I guess. Playing Temple Franklin, Ben's grandson. This is a show, at least so far, that features Michael Douglas not really doing much of like a departure from Michael Douglas to playing Ben Franklin farting around France, both metaphorically and literally trying to recruit some aid for the US in their Revolutionary War fight. And I think it does a decent job of kind of making a man out of a mythic figure in some ways. Like
Okay.
he's just you see his charm and how he's sort of able to sway people to his side. I'm just not, again, like the greater purpose of the show, whether it's like some kind of reevaluation of his legacy or just I don't know what I don't really know what it's trying to do here other than tell you the story of Ben Franklin, which I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that are interested in it. I just wasn't hooked off that first episode. Seems pretty uh impressively made. It all looks pretty good, albeit, too dark like most prestige TV shows are. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I didn't have an issue with it.
Gotcha.
But
So
I'm
they've got
also
Manhunt.
probably not going to watch anymore if you're not watching anymore with me.
It got decent reviews, I guess. 7 stars isn't bad right now for the average 8-episode TV miniseries. I just feel like Apple's getting all of the presidents. They got Manhunt, they got Franklin. Who you got next? If you had to invest in one, just go all
I
out.
heard
Give us your
Zachary
pick.
Taylor was a pretty disastrous president, and he's my namesake, so I've always been wanting to see something about him. Can we do that next?
Okay, I'll put in a good word for you. I'll send in a message.
Hey man,
Let's move.
what shows are you watching right now? I'm kind of curious because I'm just, this is my list of what I'm in the middle of right now. And I still got I just started the Sympathizer, I just started Fallout. We're in the middle of Abbott Elementary. I've still got some Mr. and Mrs. Smith I'm trying to do. I'm still trying to close out Ted. I still haven't finished Ripley. I still haven't started Shogun, which I'm hearing incredible things about. And it just feels like it keeps piling up. Like I guess I was gonna do Three Body Problem, but I don't know if I can with all that on my plate. Like, what are you in the middle of? What are you most drawn to that's in the middle of its seasons right now?
I had so many, which is why when I started Fallout, I finished Fallout. It's another reason why I
Check.
don't mind the binge thing, because once I start something, instead of jumping to a bunch of other things and forgetting what the pilot was, and then what? Having to see each episode twice, have a through previously on before I get to the next one. No. I went through all of that, so I have it just checked off. Sympathizer, I know it's going to be a weekly one, but besides those, number one is Shogun, because that's still running up until I think the 23rd. That is my number one show. If you needed to watch one to sacrifice the rest, because I feel that that's really what the question is. There's so many. What's first?
Right.
Shogun. It's Shogun. It just really is. After that, I like the ones that I'm at 0. I'm including Invincible in there because I have not started to be, and that is the season for this one. You said Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I thought was a pretty good one. The Regime, I haven't started at all. I know that just
Right.
wrapped.
That's another one.
Parasite. I have been watching the Parasite show. We were like a third of it the last time that we had mentioned it on the podcast. Chucky. I've been hearing great things. I kind of had that in the rundown. I don't know if you saw the rollout for Chucky calling out Megan or Metrigan. I thought that was really good. But I've been very simple on the shows. I guess X-Men. I've been hearing great stuff
X-Men
about episode 5. Wow, I've been hearing like really good stuff about X-Men. Let me see some other ones to give you. We wrapped Curb. We wrapped True Detective. Abbott had the little stint, but it's back on. Wrapped Masters of the Air. So I'm kind of left with like a lot of the Apple shows. Constellation. Am I going to finish that?
Yeah.
Who knows? Tokyo Vice. I remember you liking season 1.
And season 2 has been getting really good reviews. That's on my list as well. For me right now, I'm still just trying to get through Ripley. And you know what? I forgot.
Ripley,
I watched episode 2 of Three Body Problem. That ending of episode 2 really hits.
And they're saying 5 is the big one, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
So it's like,
gotta
there's
start
not
working
bad
through these
TV out
shows.
there. Feud, Capote versus the Swans was one that I had in my holster too. I don't want to watch the Halo show, but the Halo show's there. When do you want to come over and finish Griselda?
Manhunt, I still was going to catch up with if I get around to it at some
bro.
point.
Oh, I've been watching Gerard for sure.
Yeah.
The New Look, another Apple show. That's what I meant. That's like the fashion one with Ben Mendelsohn. Like that's not.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. So it's about Christian Dior and Coco Chanel during World War II, and it stars Ben Mendelsohn. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, pull it up over here. Like, like this is just the 7.5 rated Ben Mendelsohn like biopic that's happening. And again, just like you had mentioned for the Franklin one, Manhunt, they are not cheaping out on the production, the actors, the costumes, none of it. They're just sitting there. And like Apple's one of the best streaming services because it actually is giving you the highest quality. It's like Tidal, but for TV. So yeah, there's a lot. I'm looking at some stuff here that I don't even know what it is. What is A Gentleman in Moscow, bro? What is this? That's Ewan McGregor.
Wow.
On Paramount Plus. A lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Palm Royale.
There's that whole Julian Nicholson, Nicholas Galitzine show that we talked about and got the plot wrong.
I just brought up Naiads. Apple never falls, but you're right. I don't even have stars, and that's another one to get. Too many. I don't know, bro. Have you heard about this one? I might
Apple's
actually start with this one.
Yeah, they're sending us a lot of emails about it.
Oh, no, this
chicken nugget.
A woman steps into an odd machine and becomes a chicken nugget. So I think we should just put everything on the back burner, do Chicken Nugget, and then Shogun, and then we'll take it from there. I know I'm still missing like 5 more to give you.
Right. Luna in the live stream asked, "Did you guys watch the Vince Staples show?" I think we
Oh
covered
yeah,
that on a weekend must watch back in February. We both really enjoyed it. Had a
they were
lot of
nice to
fun
send
with
it
the Vince
early.
Staples
Yeah,
show.
I think it was like
Yeah,
right before we went to Sundance or came
right
back
when
from
we
Sundance.
got
We
back,
love
we
that one.
watched it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's one that I rewatched. We were even rewatching some episodes. So yeah, big thumbs up on that show. Very good show.
definitely.
All right, let's move on to movie news. We've
Let's
got a
do it.
couple of pretty big hits because obviously stuff's gonna be rolling out a lot. So we'll keep the CinemaCon stuff pretty brief. I don't know if there was anything that stood out to you. The big one for me is how funny the Disney lineup looks.
They
We've
did the
been
whole
so
like
used to.
Marvel
Yeah,
timeline thing, but for the young woman in the sea and a real pain, like coming to theaters October. Jesse Eisenberg goes through generational trauma.
I went through this 3 times before I realized that that was our a real pain. Like
Yeah, it's not Marvel's
my
a real
mind
pain.
couldn't even process what that was. How could how could the movie we saw at Sundance, where they're throwing rocks at statues, be up there with Planet of the Apes, Deadpool, Wolverine, Moana 2, a real pain?
It
That is
literally sandwiched
funny.
between Deadpool, Wolverine, and Moana 2. What a
I love
lineup.
how Alien. Alina was like, they're so lucky that Alien uses the stretched out font because they really needed some space right there in the fall. How did we go from like 3 Marvel movies a year
At
to a
least plus
half Marvel
shows.
movie? Like Deadpool Wolverine feels like a 0.5 in between these companies connecting. It's not even
Mhm.
a real Marvel movie. Like that's the most intriguing part about it.
All that being said, I was thinking about it the other day, and it's kind of made me almost a little more excited for Marvel. Whereas, like,
The
often a
scarcity
new
of it.
Marvel thing drops, and I find it a burden to like, it's an obligation to go see it. Now it's like, you know what? I actually haven't seen a Marvel thing in a little while. Maybe I'll enjoy this one. Probably not, but
I'm
maybe.
finally where I want to be.
Yeah, give
X-Men.
us one or two a year.
No, but we're like at the realm of the X-Men finally being
Mm,
in Marvel, the thing I have been wanting since phase 2. We've got
right.
the animated series. Wolverine is here, Deadpool's here. They are under the actual umbrella. I guess I need to be seated for it to all like finally come back. But at the
Yeah.
moment, I mean, how can I not be excited with Young Woman in the Sea, bro? That's coming out May
Ooh,
31st. What is
young
that?
Naiad.
What is this? Is this an animated film?
It's wait. Do you have you not seen the trailer with this Daisy Ridley?
I'm realizing right now, Kinds of Kindness is a Yorgos movie, and that's just
Yeah,
above Inside Out. Like that's normal.
right. Whatever weird shit that Yorgos is cooking up alongside the new Pixar family film.
Like
I don't know.
the
The Disney
Amazon
slate
shoppers
is
also bought Inside Out too with the new
right.
Yorgos. Like what? How did these
Yeah,
two
the
go
Disney
together?
slate looks so much barer than it's been in such a long time, and probably a lot of that has to do with the actor strikes, making it so that
Yeah.
less films got produced last year in a timeline that would have them be ready for this summer. But it
Mhm.
is like stunning to see a slate like this that is so devoid of the like dearth of blockbusters that we normally get.
It is interesting. Do you think that with a real pain being on there, that really shows the push that they're gonna have campaigning it?
I mean, it'd have to indicate that they at least have some like belief in it to put it up between Moana and Deadpool, right? Like they're not treating this like some prestige art house shoot off. This is one of the main movies that they have on their slate this year. And again, I don't know if part of that is a consequence of them not having a lot of other movies to market, but
Mhm.
we both were really, really struck by that film, and I would not be surprised at all to see it get into the awards conversation. So maybe they also see it as a big awards contender this year.
What do you think about his thoughts on Mufasa? Came out and said, I
Barry
almost didn't
Jenkins.
take it, but Barry Jenkins said it was the best decision of his life. Is that an aha
Look,
or a cha-ching in your book?
yeah, I mean, look, I'm happy that he got to move into a bigger house, and I saw that he and Lulu Wong made like an $11,000 charity donation this weekend. Like, I'm sure that that's coming out
Really?
of the Lion King money.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so look, I'm happy that Barry Jenkins is fed, right? And maybe like I like the my optimistic brain, because I like to think optimistically about these things, is that he's using this as an opportunity to sort of see what working with a gigantic budget affords you, right? Because I think
Mhm.
for lots of
And the tech.
filmmakers, it's yeah, lots of filmmakers, like, it's one thing to be in Hollywood. It's a whole other thing to have $200 million at your disposal to go make a movie with and break out all the expensive toys that A24 can't afford to make Moonlight with, you know? And if it means that it's going to allow him to learn things he can bring into future movies, then that's awesome. I'm happy about that. I'm not excited for Mufasa at all, though. I mean, they released a still and it looks just exactly the same as the last live action Lion King movie. I'm sorry, man. It's a shame that he's tied up for a couple years like this, but I just hope he comes out better on the other side.
Cashing in, no?
Yeah, he's definitely cashing in. But
It's his
hopefully it's
little
like
Barbie
it
one.
is a one for them, one for me, not a I'm now in the system.
I mean, that's usually it is how it goes, but like you're saying, I hope that he's able to come out the other end with a lot of tech
Yeah.
and filming prowess that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Which is exactly what I know you're expecting for Captain America: Brave New World. Did you see how they shared the screenshot of him standing, I think, with Harrison Ford, and they made
Oh,
his
right.
butt, like they Instagrammed his butt. Even it was so big, the
I didn't see that.
background was like moving with it. They're really focusing it on the America's ass part of it. That's the hand me down,
Nice.
other
Yeah,
than the
you gotta
shield.
keep it up. Keep it alive.
Excited for this at all? I've been telling you they've been pushing a lot of stuff for 2025.
No, I mean, like, this is another one that seems to be in like reshoots hell right now, and
No one
uh,
cares. Yeah.
that is a big part of Marvel's process. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a disaster or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the show was like extremely mid to bad, and I've never really been a big fan of the Captain America series. I know people love those movies, but that's
Yeah.
not doesn't really do it for me.
Big nay.
Yeah, I'm going nay.
I got a good one for you though. All
Okay.
that talk for the new Gladiator. We don't have the footage. Usually they'll
No.
leak this footage and the studio's got to be like, okay, here it is in HD. They're keeping this one tight. I'm hearing the needle drops are really good. I'm hearing the boys are ripped and that this may be even better than Gladiator 2. What are your thoughts on the first announcements for the Coliseum footage, which I heard they're going to be on boats?
News to me. Sounds cool. You got
That
to
sounds raw.
differentiate yourself somehow. Yeah, I mean, look, all the hype that was coming out of CinemaCon made it seem like this might be like one of the most epic movies ever, and we're just coming off of Ridley Scott directing Napoleon, which had some incredibly realized battle
Just
sequences.
practice, right?
Yeah, right. He if that's a taste of what we're gonna get with a Gladiator movie, that sounds dope. The cast that are attached to this one sounds pretty incredible. Do we need a Gladiator sequel? I really don't think so. But at the same time, like, maybe it's just an excuse to be in this world and let Ridley play with the toys again or something like that. I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm up to, I'm optimistic off this one, based especially off of the really positive reactions we're hearing out of CinemaCon.
Sick. I'm going thumbs up as well. Thumbs up, thumbs down. They released footage for the Joker, and then of course for this one, usually the superhero ones do it. They released an HD one for all of us peasants to enjoy at home, and they enjoyed it. People went
Yeah.
crazy. They loved it.
Mm-hmm.
The imagery, the
Oh,
cinema,
a
Zach.
director's idea. Whoa.
Look, hey, I thought that was funny in the best way possible. I cannot wait to add that to the repertoire of cutaways. The director's idea. Did you not like the trailer?
You know what? I thought the trailer was pretty good. Got to be honest. I thought the trailer
Tell
was
him.
pretty good.
Thank you. Hey, I
I thought
appreciate that.
I thought the visuals looked pretty decent. I think it's got kind of like a fun sort of quality to it.
Right?
Um, I know there's some people who are like not super optimistic about the idea that it's a jukebox musical, to which I would say, do you really want
Why?
them to write original songs
Original
about the
music.
Joker?
It's one of those
They-
where it's like you're gonna complain either way, right? It's Moulin
yeah,
Rouge. You know, I
right.
like how the Moulin Rouge fans are the first ones saying this is ridiculous. You go to the Letterboxd top 4, it's right there. I think they're gonna make it work.
Yeah, I mean, look, I still have the same thoughts about this that I do about the previous film, that I do about the news about them making like a rated R live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. I don't know if you saw that announcement coming out. In that, like,
Oh, that's a good bit.
not everything needs to be adult. Not everything needs to be super dour and serious. And like I that letterbox review that goes viral about this movie, I just find it ringing in my head that, like, if you've never seen an ocean, a pool seems deep to you. Like, it doesn't need to be that deep. I think I'd be what I'm happy with the Joker 2 trailer is that I'm hoping it's just going to lean into style and not lean into like, this is a movie about the people who are forgotten by society. But
Well, the
who
first movie.
knows? Yeah, I found the first one to be a bit too self-serious, and this one maybe seems a little less self-serious.
I think it's gonna be the same thing. I think this is gonna be like for the kids who used to wear Invader Zim to school, for the like big Nightmare Before Christmas fans, those people who like really like Tim Burton. This is that new generation right here. That angsty, like, oh, I saw the rated R DC stuff. I'm not messing with the MCU or the DCU. This is my stuff, the black label.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna connect to the. She's gonna be like the new Helen Bonham Carter. This a quirky character. She's gonna be able to play that side of Harley Quinn, I think, beautifully. I think we've had a quirkiness, but more of a sexiness with Margot Robbie's, and they kind of like had her stuck at playing that. She's gonna bring a level to it where people are gonna like the craziness of it. I noticed a lot of people who were hating on the people who are overloving this also admit that they did kind of like the first one. They kind of give it 4 stars. And then a Spider-Man Avi profile would come in and they'd get into a fight. I'm like, why are we lying about how we feel about the movie because we want to fit in? And they were literally saying, I'm just too pretentious to admit that I do kind of like it. Look, I think there's an honesty to the people who haven't seen the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, enjoying the visuals that they're seeing here for the first time. I'm in the middle of cutting up an Omen video, and I truly believe that if you saw the 70s or if you saw the remake in 2006, whatever your first viewing is, it's going to give you the story of the Omen. You just hope that it's the original one, but when it's beat by beat, you are going to get the basics of it. Some people are seeing these movies for the first time through this imagery. I think instead of yelling at them, we should direct them to the movies.
Yeah, right. One of the things
that would be too easy.
One thing of the things that I've been really heartened by on film Twitter or whatever you about the reaction to that one shot specifically that you're talking about, where they draw the little smile in the mirror, and it's a decent shot. Are people posting clips from like Paris, Texas, or posting clips from the Beatles film A Hard Day's Night?
Crazy, bro.
Right? Yeah. There's a lot of films that have done similar ideas, but like even if it, the hope is when you have a modern film and they include references, that it's a motivator for you to go and watch those referenced films, right? Like, hopefully Joker opened a lot of people's eyes up to the King of Comedy, because if you see Joker and you really like that, well, you probably should see the King of Comedy.
Yeah, but I don't think that should be a bad thing. I think lying because you're a fan of the Joker and saying it doesn't homage King of Comedy is just as bad as saying I'm going to dismiss it because it took from King of Comedy. I think there's a middle ground in there where people don't need to dismiss what came before or dismiss the new stuff that falls under the same umbrella of inspiration. I don't hate Todd Phillips. I think he's very angsty. I think he's like right behind Zack Snyder on having a podcast that's going to derail a lot of what people see about him if he goes for over an hour. But I think there's interesting stuff. If it's cosplay, damn me, is it really good cosplay at its bare minimum? And I know a lot of people are attracted to it to some degree because it is still based off of classics. I think the new one's New York, New York, right? Go watch New York, New York, just like you did King of Comedy before The Last Joker. It's new Tarantino style, bro. It's just weird because Tarantino homaged stuff from overseas. We feel really weird that the kids today haven't seen the stuff from here, and now we have to make movies to homage our own stuff. It's just a cycle of it. Been doing this podcast too long.
Look, kids today is probably apt too, because I think a lot of people don't realize how many of the people they're yelling at are like 16, 17, 18 years old with a Twitter account or a YouTube account, right?
I'm getting mad at them. Yeah.
Yeah. People are going to start somewhere. And like, I'm not mad.
I'm happy they care. Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm not mad at anybody who says Joker's their favorite movie or that Joker 2 is their most anticipated one, but I just also hope that you will use that as an opportunity to then see, well, what movies is Todd Phillips mentioning? What movies is he
Yeah.
referencing? And then try to seek those out too, because you might find that if you like the first thing, you might like the second thing a lot too.
Well said. And then once you do, you can resubscribe. Until then, leave. The next thing that we have over here is, of course, Ice Spice set to appear in Spike Lee's High and Low with who's Denzel Washington.
Ooh, a newcomer, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know. So from everything that I learned about Ice Spice, just makes me like her more so far. She defended music critics. She defended To Pimp a Butterfly, and now Spike Lee's casting her in a film. It's all good stuff.
Entrepreneur.
Sure. I don't know.
They say he who holds the spice, right?
Yeah, there we go.
There you go. The means of production
use some
right
Ice
there.
Spice out on Arrakis.
I think he's done this in the past. It makes sense, and under anybody, I'd rather it be Spike doing it. Scary Movie reboot.
Yeah, well,
yay or nay, and
like,
who do you got?
Ooh, who do I got in what sense?
Who would you want to be the replacement? I've heard people really push. What's her name? Melissa from Scream.
Oh, right. Yeah.
To be able to come in and then do like a parody of the stuff would be great. Because think about it. You know my critiques for Scream 5 and 6. Imagine her doing Scary Movie, and the Scary Movie reboot actually gets the Scream essence that I wanted more than the Scream movies did. Right? That would be wild.
Would be wild. I don't know. It's exciting, right? Because I think enough time has passed since the last time we got scary movies that we've had a whole new like generation of horror, and a whole new style of horror has emerged too in the popularization of these Blumhouse movies, and also all the A24 style horror movies that would probably make for plenty of
elevated stuff.
Parodyable material. Yeah. So I think it could be pretty cool. And yeah, maybe if you get a Melissa Barrera or something like that, we saw her at Sundance in a movie, Your Monster, in which she's doing the same kind of like sitcom acting that Anna Faris does in these movies.
There you go.
I think she'd be good at it.
That's pretty funny. I would need these two to come back to some capacity. I don't think you can have a scary movie without them. And I think once they started getting put in the back burners when the franchise really fell apart.
You're talking about Anna Faris and Regina. It's
easily
King in these movies, right?
No, Hall.
Damn it.
you're close. The talent behind it. I started thinking, I know I haven't seen it, but the way you described The Gutter.
Ooh, yeah, they could totally take on something like Scary Movie.
We need someone who has those quick quips.
You don't think Tim Story and The Blackening made him a contender for this?
No.
You don't want to see
it's adjacent. I bet Scary Movie goes above that. Like, it goes beyond. That's what the Wayans had down.
Weirdly, the people who I think could do this maybe the most interestingly are the Philippos. We know they like doing some more comedy tinged stuff from their YouTube days, but I think they're on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, they're crafting some different things over here. I need someone who knows how to be funny in the pop culture sense, and that's why the first people that came to mind was the dudes from that movie that you had mentioned. But I'm curious for it. Yeah, we'll see what they do with that.
Just to quickly circle back to the Ice Spice in the Spike Lee movie thing, like obviously there's a hit. I didn't see her Coachella performance. I'm not really familiar with her music. I like her away from the mic, but there's a long history of actor or musicians transitioning into acting, right? And that charisma that they bring to the stage a lot of times can translate to a really good performance. We loved Killers of the Flower Moon. That movie's got a couple of country stars in that. Megan Thee Stallion is now showing up in a bunch of stuff. I don't think she's very good at a bunch of stuff.
But that's what I'm about to say. I was about to say, yeah.
But look, Spike Lee, once upon a time, cast Rosie Perez before she had done any film work in Do the Right Thing. And she not only is Rosie Perez now like an iconic actress, that is an iconic performance too.
Standout. And to follow that up with her role in White Men Can't Jump, some really good stuff. Yeah. And again, you're talking about someone who's very New York. That's how I see Rosie. If Rosie's got a problem with a New Yorker, that's how I know that there's a problem with that New Yorker because she's authentic in that sense.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to push Ice Spice with, and that's why I think pairing her right here with Spike is like a huge push in that sense. So I'm more positive than not. I see you had also highlighted a couple of other ones in Joaquin's first sequel. I don't know if you had a mention on that.
Yeah. Apparently Joker 2 is going to be the first time Joaquin's done a sequel, which, like, look, I'd do a sequel too if they back to Brinks truck
A
up to my
bill
house.
easily.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the Kendrick movie? I want to say this is what there's not been anything new than when he announced
They
it for PG Lang that it's
they made
the
an
South Park
announcement
guys.
about it at CinemaCon, actually.
What they
That
say that was different?
I think they gave it a date. I think it's coming next year. And I
Oh,
don't
a
know if
day.
you
Okay.
heard, there is like a brief plot synopsis in that it is about a man who works as a slave reenactor at some kind of like historical society, who finds out that the white person that he's dating, their ancestors owned his ancestors, which I think some people have pointed out was a Family Guy plot, but I think I like the idea of it being handled by Kendrick Lamar and the South Park people a little bit better.
Probably a little bit more. Yeah. I think I had heard the first part of it, but not that second part that you said, the
Yeah,
revelation of who ends up being connected. These guys are not directing. If I'm not mistaken, they hired somebody else to direct, but they're
I
the ones
believe so.
producing it, and it's supposed to be under PG Lang. So that means I don't think he needs to drop and give anyone 50 because it should be his own production company at that point. Last one here. Pretty big one. We're on the horizon for another movie festival that we won't be there, but shout outs to a lot of the people who are heading out over there. I think Carson said he was making the trip over to Cannes. They got some pretty big premieres over there. And they have the whole lineup out now. Who is judging? I think for the jury, we got Xavier Dolan, we got a
Yeah.
Gerwig, some other critics as well, but we're here for the lineup, Zach. I don't know if you want to go down it quickly. If you had any ones that stood out to you, let me know.
Well, let me know if any stand out to you in particular, because there's a couple that obviously jump off of the screen, and I think
Yeah,
those would
new Sean Baker.
like those would particularly be some of the out of competition ones, including Furiosa, the Mad Max saga, which I believe is opening the
Yep.
festival. I mean, Mad Max Fury Road also premiered at Cannes, and that is probably my favorite action movie of the past decade or two.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Kevin Costner movie Horizon American Saga, the first part of what he hopes will be a 4-part series, and I believe this one is supposed to be 3 hours, so we might be getting like over 10 hours of Kevin Costner Western movies.
And these aren't the director's cuts.
No, these are the theatricals. I'm also very curious about whatever this movie Rumors is, that is directed by Guy Madden, Evan Johnson, and Galen Johnson. Guy Madden, if you don't know, is a experimental Canadian filmmaker who makes these extremely out there movies. They're very thought-provoking and challenging to the form. Just not a person who is a conventional filmmaker in any sense of the word. And
For the
getting this
Holdovers,
Sorry?
what's his name? Director for the Holdovers?
Alexander Payne.
Alexander Payne said he was inspired by Guy Madden movies when trying to recreate that 70s look because he goes, nobody does it better than Guy.
Yeah, Guy's really incredible in the way that he's able to evoke different eras with his filmmaking. And Rumors is an upcoming dark comedy that he's directing with Kate Blanchett and Alicia Vikander. So I'm very
Decent.
curious about that.
Okay. That looks pretty good. Alicia
Uh,
Vikander is really great in Ex Machina. I don't know if you've seen it.
yeah, curious about that one. What else stands out to you from the con lineup reveal?
New Quentin Dupieux, which like this man's
Yeah,
just
let's
making
go.
a dozen. Didn't he just come out with one on movie?
He's making like a movie every 6 months, it feels like.
This man is on that Woody Allen grind because someone has to be. Looking at the competition itself, obviously we have a bunch of standouts that are coming out. What's the un certain regard? What would that category be? I don't know if you know it off the top of your head. It's not the main competition.
Yeah, it's just another competition, I believe. Like it's a little, you know how we have at Sundance, like there's the narrative jury prize, and then there's like the spotlight award or whatever it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
From the main competition, obviously they put Megalopolis on there. That being a
Yeah,
massive one, with it being Francis Ford Coppola trying to get the funding or even just a rollout for this
the
movie. I
distribution.
don't know
Yeah,
if you saw, his wife just passed as well, so that's going to
yeah.
be like, I think it's just gonna be a heavy thing that he's gonna go through, and that being part of what is even going to be a part of the release, especially because she was always there documenting a lot of the stuff, and now he's not going to have a
Hmm.
partner in this creative process. New David Cronenberg. I know
Yes, the Shrouds.
Junior's got a movie. And then his daughter's got a movie, like you sent me, Humane as well. That's going to be doing
Hmm.
some releases at the end of April. But Papa Cronenberg with a new one over here, The Shrouds. I think this one's going to be interesting. He's got Vincent Cancel, Diane Kruger, Guy Pearce. I'm looking forward to that one. Paul Schrader, Oh
Yeah, with
Canada.
Jacob Elordi.
I am down, dude. Heck
Yeah,
yes.
that one's actually
I
got a
hope that
pretty
that
great
one,
cast.
yeah.
It's got
Uma
Richard
Thurman.
Gere.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go. Richard Gere, Uma Thurman. Woo! Michael Imperioli.
let's go.
Hey, and Christine Forsyth. All right, dude. It's gonna be a good one. Hopefully they have that one maybe at some other festivals gearing up towards the end of the year. Kinds of Kindness, Yorgos, obviously premiering there. I can see that one being a massive one. They released some footage and stills and the costumes.
Good teasers, really
Costumes
good
look great.
teasers.
And then Sean Baker and Andrea Arnold have new movies. I'm actually more and more excited from Bird the more I remember you talking about the breakdown for uh our boy
Bird.
skipping on Gladiator to come do this
Hmm.
movie with Franz. Yeah.
Barry
Uh
Keoghan. Yeah,
I'm excited for that. And Anora by Sean
Honora, the
Baker, of
new Sean
course.
Baker. Yeah,
Yeah.
another film where
Uh
he's spotlighting the lives of sex workers, which is kind of like a passion of Baker's. But those movies turned out
mhm,
to be really good, so
yeah.
I'm not opposed.
So you could find a lot of that stuff online. Letterbox shared Ewan's post to it as well. So shout out that. He's got the official con lineup that you can go check out there. I'll be keeping an eye on ratings using his as well. But I think I'm most curious for Megalopolis. I know it's like an easy pick, but I am curious to see what the first like vocal actual reactions from people would be. So look forward to
Yeah,
that.
I mean, just getting the buzz around Megalopolis that it is this kind of like movie that is pushing forward cinema and is doing things we haven't seen before just has to whet your appetite a little bit. And like,
Right?
we're ultimately not the people responsible for deciding if, how we're going to market this movie to the masses. We just want to see it and we just
Yeah.
want to experience it. So I am pumped for Megalopolis. Ewan in the live stream is also mentioning the Balconettes. I don't know if you saw this one in the midnight
Which was
section,
that?
but Noemi Merlant, one of the Portrait of a
Oh
Lady on Fire actresses, directing a
yes, she's in
movie,
it.
a horror comedy that Celine Sciamma is apparently writing too.
Damn. It's gonna be good. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited for it. So hopefully we get some good stuff when it come out.
pretty solid
I know.
constellate.
Yeah, I think you was asking that you didn't know Letterbox shared. Letterbox shared you, boy. Right there.
Yeah,
There
congrats,
you
Ewan.
go. Rightfully so. So there you go. Go check out Ewan's just whole letterbox. Got some decent stuff. He's a
Yeah,
good guy.
yeah. Maybe we'll
But
bring
that's all
Ewan
the movie
on
news.
when Con wraps up to get some thoughts from the festival.
Oh, is he going?
Yeah, Ewan's there this year.
Of course. He's got the pass. So let us know, dude. You're gonna know. But time for the most important part of the show. Let me check right here. Yep, still the most important part of the show, Zach.
Oh, cool. Let's thank some Intercuties. We want to thank the awesome Intercut patrons who continue to support our show, giving us some monthly stipends, donations, whatever have you, helps ensure that we keep this thing going. On the Academy level, we have Cademan, Connor, Josh, May, Ricky, Joe, Wiley, Benji, and then the producer level patrons are Yuden Veer and Toon. A huge thanks to all of them for their continued support. And a reminder that you too can head over to patreon.com/intercutpod to sign up for a patron or a Intercut membership for as little as $3 a month, and that gives you access to a bunch of behind the scenes content, including blogs where we update you on the podcast, a look at our episode outlines before they get published, a look at some episodes before we publish them publicly, including our recent Civil War spoilers review was available for patrons before it was for most audiences. But on top of all that, just for supporting the show, you get invited to a monthly patron Google Hangout.
Ooh.
Our next one's probably going to happen next week because we still owe one for April. And yeah, we chat for about an hour with all of you about what your favorite recent movies are, give you some insights onto future brackets and other things that we're going to do on the podcast, and just generally hang out and be merry together. So once again, that place is patreon.com/intercutpod, where you can sign up for free or donate as few as $3 a month to help support this podcast and help ensure we can keep doing what we do for all y'all.
Thank you, Zach Usami. We're up in those US charts. That's here. Homegrown.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Civil War. Bringing the viewers together.
Exactly. Yeah. Bringing us up the charts and splitting the country apart. But it benefits us. So we're happy about it. Yeah.
Hey, we're getting the news out there. We're getting the truth out there. That's
Look,
what I know.
My cousins pumped us up to #1 on the film review charts in Poland. So dziękuję bardzo, and shout outs to all y'all.
Thank you. I'm gonna eat some puchkis in your honor. Time for the coming attractions. We have a couple of different movies coming out this weekend in theaters, on streaming, all that good stuff. Running through them quickly. We have our first one, Abigail. They're keeping this one secret, Zach. I know you have the same screening date I do, which is 24 hours before the movie is out.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it as a bad thing because this played at the Overlook Horror Film Festival. This is coming from the Radiohead guys, not Radiohead guys. What are they?
Radio Silence guys?
Radio Silence. I like them outside of Scream. This is outside of Scream. I'm looking forward to it. I think the whole cast looks pretty good. And I've been saying that the little girl, I think her name's Alicia Ware, she has been in Wicked Little Letters. She was Matilda. I don't see her making a bad movie yet, other than Oops, but that's in the name. I'm excited for Abigail. I'll be watching that one Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about the trailer here that feels a little bit like, what's our Megan? We have to find our Megan, but
a little bit,
hopefully it'll be better than that.
This one had some early screenings. I did not go because they booked them pretty fast. But the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, I like keep forgetting this is a movie that's coming out. Sometimes there'll be like a new Jason Statham movie that comes out, and you like see it in theaters, and the next thing you know, you blink and it's on Netflix. This feels like one of those, but it doesn't seem bad. I don't mind Henry Cavill. I think Alan Ritchson has been pretty funny. It's even got Isa Gonzalez, who I think has been a really good action star. There's no reason for me to not like this movie. I feel like I've never finished a trailer for this, and it feels like a bunch of other movies. But that'll also be coming out this weekend, but it's getting beaten out and not getting a Dolby or an IMAX because Abigail and a couple other movies are getting it. So it's the action movie that you can't see in the biggest premium formats, but will be out in theaters. Alongside two other little independent films. Hard Miles, I got to catch at Chicago last year, Chicago Film Fest. It's pretty decent. It's a movie I would say to catch at home as streaming. Alina really liked it a lot more, but it's kind of a group of cyclists who use this as a form of therapy to be able to they're like considered delinquents, and in doing this sport, they're able to rise above their problems. So think of it like a Freedom Writers, but instead of a classroom, it's a sport. And I thought it was some decent performances from there. We Grow Now would be the Chicago movie that we thought was okay. Like, we're not going to overhate it, but we did feel that it was very much like a suburban take on this period in time in Chicago that was very urban. Beautiful shots, but it felt more voyeuristic on this time period than really pointing out the time period for what it was. Yeah. Again, not the worst, but I would recommend it at home. Picks for the week, though.
Let's do it.
I think we're both going to be sharing this one, bro. It's Challengers. It's coming out this upcoming week. You may have an early screening, but I was telling Zach, and also my big announcement, what we do, go check out the early screening next Monday. You'll be able to see it a whole week before it drops on Friday. The seat should still be clean. Go catch it. I think you just have to put like early Challengers on your AMC Premiere and it'll let you in. I've got my tickets for that in Dolby. I am very excited for this. I've been hearing nothing but great things on the performances, on the story. This sounds like Luca going all in, 10 out of 10. It's easily my pick for the week. Again, keep an eye out for that Monday screening next Monday.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the movie event of the month, and this is a month where we've had a lot of movie events, but there's just a lot of
Yeah.
hype around this, and it feels like a while since we've gotten a movie that is sort of like this tantalizing and hopefully sexy. So I don't know. I'm
Right?
I'm looking forward to having a fun time at Challengers.
I'm all in. I like that it's in Dolby too.
Mhm.
Another one that you may need to seek out a little bit, but I do think it's worth catching in theaters. And if not, when it rolls around, you'll have it on your watch list. In Flames. We got this out of Toronto, and it's like a psychological thriller. I thought it was just going to be this drama about what this girl's going through that's very similar to something her mom went through, but she's kind of keeping that hidden. Maybe she doesn't realize, our main character, that she's keeping certain thoughts hidden, and it's still suppressed thoughts that end up becoming hauntings. There are some insane transitions in this movie. We got to catch this as a screener, and I'm still saying that this up on the big screen would be a really good watch. Keep this one on your radar. It's rolling out in some limited theaters, but it should be out hopefully by XYZ Films in digital. I don't know, probably in a month. It's one to keep on your radar. That was a really good movie. In Flames. But my last pick, talked about it earlier. It's Fallout. It's all available at home. No one can ruin it for you. You can play the games for free if you've already got the Prime account. Yeah, I'm in my Fallout binge thoroughly, dude. I stole my buddy Tremil. I still got his Fallout 3 game that he let me borrow when we were working at McDonald's. I got to return that one. Hopefully there's a new game. I'll have to give him the updated copy, but the
There you go.
series is great. I think it's a fun time. It has serious elements to it, but it's being presented in the most, like punko pop funko way possible. It really feels like a video game come to life, and I like the different characters, the timelines, all of it. Check it out over on
You
Prime. That's my
penciling
final pick of
this
the week.
you penciling this in for your top 10 shows of the year?
Yeah, so far it's in there. I for Midway, yes. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of great shows that are coming up, but yeah, I would actually say it's in my top 10 so far.
Pencil, not pen.
I got white out.
Okay. All right, pen it in there. Sounds good.
It's good though. I hope you get to finish it if you got the time.
Yeah, definitely. As for my picks for the week, I got a couple of indie movies that I either are in limited release or they're starting to expand their rollout. So hopefully they're playing somewhere near you. Two films that we caught back at Sundance. The first one, Sasquatch Sunset, directed by the Zellner
Woo!
brothers. It stars Riley Keough and Jesse Eisenberg, as well as Nathan Zellner, as a family of Sasquatches roaming the North American wilderness and just about nothing else. It is very kind of like guttural and like scatological at points. It is really into like body fluids and functions and just sort of awkward interactions. But I think the way that they're able to ultimately communicate, mostly like through grunts instead of like actual words and stuff like that,
Very smart.
who these different characters are and their dilemma and their emotions ends up being like a lot funnier and more touching than you expect it to be. I ended up uh pretty charmed by this movie, and we all sort of left the movie theater doing the Sasquatch whoops, the yelps they were
Yeah,
doing.
y'all got it
So
better than I can. Yeah, I can do a grito, but maybe not the Sasquatch. The people coming out of it, they had a great time. Thumbs up for me
yeah,
on this one too.
yeah, it's definitely not a movie for everybody if you're concerned about pacing or if you're concerned about how like vulgar some of the imagery is going to be. Maybe just skip this one. But if you're into like an offbeat comedy that's going to give you some unexpected laughs, highly recommend Sasquatch Sunset. And similarly, I highly recommend you check out Stress Positions, which is a new film. I believe is Theta Hamill who wrote and
Hmm.
directed this one. And it has this just unrelenting chaotic energy. It takes
Yeah.
place in the summer after the COVID breakout in 2020, and it's one of the best films set in that time period that I've ever seen, because it really just takes you back to a very specific moment in which people are a little tired of being stuck indoors because the weather's nice and there's things to do, but at the same time, very unsure of what's happening because we're still in the early stages and things are up in the air and there's lots of DoorDash involved. And I thought there's like 5 interesting stories going on in this film, and I'm not sure that all of them are told completely, but just like you get little like slices of these very interesting characters and these very interesting dynamics. I think that poster they released is actually a really beautiful
Dude,
representation
this is my
for what's
first time
going
that
on
I'm
in the
looking
movie.
at it.
It's quite great.
That's
It's
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, And I think it does a really good job of sort of just giving you the picture of what this movie is like. And I don't know, I can't say that I have like a lot of concrete thoughts about what this movie is doing, but I did really enjoy letting it wash over me, just listening to the hilarious little bits of dialogue that you could pull out from different scenes and
Yeah.
the way that the characters interact. It's one that I want to revisit to dive into a little bit more deeply. And I'm not sure all of it completely works, but I found it to be pretty fascinating and a pretty fun time.
And then talking about it, like you said, for its time period in COVID, I think it's interesting that it's not a reaction to COVID. Like a lot of movies that were being shot at that time, where it's almost like venting about it now that it's been removed from it, and it's giving you a more honest opinion. People who are allowed to say the wrong things in here without the fear of it being like, how could you be releasing this in the middle of COVID, having shot it and flipped it? I felt like a lot of movies during that period in time that we were getting in 2021 or 2022 were like still almost a PSA.
Right.
I cannot think of a complete opposite type of movie
Yeah. This
that
is
is just that it yeah has
it's
people
not a movie
putting
that is
every
like
opinion on the wall.
pro or anti being careful about COVID or anything like that.
It's like you
It's
said,
just
it's
kind
just
of,
pro tired of being in the house.
yeah, exactly. It's just capturing what life felt like in that time,
Yeah,
and
it's a good one.
particularly how different people interacted in that time too. But
Mhm.
it's only a part of it. It really is the interpersonal dynamics and these queer stories that are being told. It's just a really whereas some movies maybe don't feel lived in enough, this feels maybe even too lived in,
Too
too
lived in.
pulled from real life.
The way he cooked chicken is the most disgusting way to cook chicken. Still wiping the counters after
Great
that.
John Early performance. Um, and then one last pick for the week I got is the upcoming Conan O'Brien show, Conan O'Brien Must Go. This is
Mm.
a, I believe, 4-part series that is coming to Max, which is somewhat based on his podcast. Uh,
You heard his old Max there, right?
yeah, his whole bit on the Hot Ones. Um, should we talk about the Hot Ones thing first, or do you want to talk about the
Shoot,
show?
bro. I only saw that bit. I'm saving the whole Hot Ones episode because I
Oh
heard
man,
he just trumped what's his name as the host, Sean. Sean had to take a backseat.
look, it's the kind of Hot Ones performance so good that they could just end the show tomorrow and it would be okay. It's like, what else do you do after Conan O'Brien comes in and just runs
Okay.
shit for 20 minutes? He came with bits. He came with a whole character that he brought with him. He just went gung ho in a way that, like, I think it sort of showed. The weird thing is, like, he goes for it so much that it shows the show that Hot Ones could be if they had maybe a more charismatic host at its center than Sean Evans. And
Wow.
like, I'm not even like a Sean Evans hater. I think he does ask really thoughtful, well articulated questions, but he's not exactly like got the best rapport or repartee. He's not ready with a joke the way that Conan O'Brien constantly is ready for a joke. And you see Conan just running comedic circles around him and this premise and this whole situation. He's just such a gift of silliness and absurdity.
Yeah.
And I love that it's turned into basically like the entire Twitter timeline eulogizing him as if he died or something like that. Just
Yes.
posting your favorite Conan O'Brien clips. It's been wonderful to be on Twitter for that. I just
What a
love
curb
Conan
your
so much.
enthusiasm angle to be able to see your funeral Thanksgiving while you're still around, right?
Exactly.
I don't know how Sean got Conan clearance, but maybe they should have given it to somebody else. I'm
Maybe,
excited for it.
man.
So this is what him just traveling?
Yeah, so he actually did a somewhat similar show when he was back on TBS. Conan, I forget what that one was called. Conan O'Brien
I'll try to pull it up.
Without Borders, I think it was. And I found
Okay.
that show to be really interesting because he like is not approaching it like a regular travel show. This one in
Oh, it's his birthday.
particular, sorry?
It's his birthday when it comes out.
Yeah, they mentioned that in the Hot Ones interview actually. Um
You're right. Conan without borders.
Yes, yes. But the thing is, like, he sort of is just going into these situations, mining them for comedy and looking for different bits to do. He's not like doing your typical travel show where he's trying to like teach you the history of these places or show you all types of foods you never encountered. It's just looking for different avenues to be silly. And in this new show, what he's doing is he's showing up unannounced at the home of different fans of his from throughout the world and trying to help their lives. And it just sounds like a really promising situation for Conan to be in, because he's somebody who responds really well in different situations. He's very quick on his feet and always ready to find a hilarious angle for something. So I think he's just really well suited for a show like this one, where he's met with constantly changing environments. He just has to be himself in response to them, and it's Conan, so he's always going to come up with something hilarious.
Nice. Running it back, I have Challengers. It's my theater pick for the week. I think we're all going to be there for that one. I can definitely see that being probably the biggest movie to come out of April, with it being also original, right? I don't think it's based off a book.
No, it's not only original, it's written by Celine Song's husband.
Celine Song's husband? Who's
Yes.
he? What?
I think this is his like big first screenplay, but I love that both of them kind of came onto the scene writing movies that are basically about thruples. Yeah.
Wow, what they got going on. And I also saw she just did a music video for I want to say her name correctly. Luffy, yeah. Beautiful stuff. Just majestically shot. Just started listening to her all Sunday morning. Yeah, pretty good. So Challengers, my pick to go catch in theaters. Catch it in that early Monday Dolby screening. My next one is In Flames, a really good psychological thriller. Definitely worth heading out if you can get it like at a matinee price at an art house theater, but still keep it on your radar for when it comes out at home, or just stay at home and you got 8 hours of some really good stuff from the creators of Westworld. They keep calling this man Christopher Nolan's brother. Man's been doing real interviews. And they're like, Christopher Nolan's brother talks about the hero he really wanted in Dark Knight. Jonathan Nolan has made movies. He's done his own TV. He is the writer of a lot of your favorite Nolan movies.
He's got a whole different accent.
Oh my God. Imagine calling all the Skarsgårds juniors. Oh, the juniors in The Crow. Like,
it's Stellan's son.
Nah. It's so
Bill's brother.
Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy have both done really good stuff with their past series, and I think Fallout continues that. So definitely catch that one. Zach Scott?
I've got Sasquatch Sunset, a hilarious scatological comedy about Sasquatches just roaming the wilderness together, starring Riley Keough and Jesse Eisenberg. I've got Stress Positions, a hilarious post-COVID set comedy about the interpersonal dynamics of a group of queer people struggling together in New York. I think it's really fascinating and has some amazing dialogue in it, as well as a great John Early performance. And then my last pick of the week is Conan O'Brien Must Go, which is going to be on Max on April 18th. Just the latest project to feature the most hilarious late night show host of my lifetime, Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think you were about to say it, but one thing we didn't mention is that Hundreds of Beavers is going to be available digitally. I think it's on VOD today. I've seen a lot of really great things about this movie, kind of like a slapstick black and white horror comedy of sorts. We got to catch up with this one. Maybe we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, they sent us a link to it. I've been hearing good stuff. I like that it's like a live action animated movie. So definitely keeping that one on our radar. But that's all for this week's show. Thank you, Gustav, for joining right at the end. We really appreciate you. A reminder that you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, all of your favorite stuff. You can find me at LME Movies on all social media. Zach, where can they find more from you?
You can find me at Zshevich across social media, or at Multiplex Show, wherever you can find videos.
Ooh. Reminder that you can catch the live video here on youtube.com every Monday, where we go through the weekend must-watch and movies, all the movie news, movies, TV, all the stuff that you need to know about. Big shout out to all the Intercuties who listen live and all of the patrons. Thank you for everyone who leaves us that 5-star review. You said we were in the top 75?
Yeah, we were almost in the top. We're in top 60, I think, for the US film review charts. We're doing decently well. Got to keep it up.
That. Yeah. So a big shout out to all of those who have been listening to us either through this channel, through the podcast, through the Intercuts page as well. Many times we don't cut up some of the smaller discussions that we have here, and instead of scrubbing through the live stream, you can go over to the Intercuts channel where we have everything. You can head on over to the A to Z show.com, where we have a lot of articles or just inputs of all of our film festival coverage and different things. But for those of you who are always following us, you pretty much know all the deets. We appreciate you. Don't forget to leave us a comment, drop a like, follow the socials over at Intercut Pod. And until next time, keep watching movies. And we'll invite you to our Intercut Vault.